live, everybody, but we're also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels of Leafs music. It's episode 63 of Kamloops Last Week. Chris Foulds, Greg the engineer, Magic Mike, and Bill at the controls. Foldsy, great job last week at the forum. I want to say right off the bat, I thought you did a good job. General thoughts on the forum?
It's a good forum. It's the only forum. We and CBC NL, we do the only forum where every candidate for City Hall gets a good amount of time on stage to answer questions. It's hard to do because in the past we tried to do it with 25, 28 people. It's impossible. So we broke it into groups, and I think a lot of people liked how it worked. We had Lee's Music's great podiums that were color-coded to try to keep people on their time limit, which generally worked for the candidates. So I think it was a great forum, and it was I've done 5, 8, 11, 14, 17, 18. This is the 7th civic election since I've been in Kamloops, and that was by far the largest crowd we've ever had.
Great show today. Last week, Polly Cleek, Jessica Wallace comes on, Michael Potestio comes on. We're going to talk all things politics, elections coming up. Also, Greg the engineer, Logan Stankoven, he's back.
Yep.
And we have him on the show. Talked to him yesterday after practice. His hockey gear, it's still on a plane somewhere or in an airport. It's lost, but he'll get it back in time to play.
Supply chain issues.
Supply chain issues. Anyway, Sadie was on here last week, and she made a point about this might not be the best way to get your point across some of these forums. And I thought right off the bat, the first person that comes up, it's the pesticide lady, right? Yep. Nothing against her policy.
Diane Sazowski, that's right.
Okay, heart of gold, I'm sure she has, but that was just right off the bat, my eyes start to roll, and it's just an agenda, right?
Well, here's the thing. During the election, before the forum, I got there early, and I had to stop someone from leafleting the whole place with some kind of sort of anti-pesticide, pro-pesticide, different pesticide lady. You had to deal with that. Get the pamphlets out, hand them out outside. There's a rule, nothing inside. And then I actually spoke to Diane, the pesticide lady, because she came up to me and says, I have all these issues I want to make. I said, well, you got to get right to the point. You got to get right to the point. And I looked at her thing. I said, just ask the council this question. Say, pesticides are bad. We know it. When are you going to ban them for city use? That's all you have to say. Get rid of all the rest. Another lady came up on the other side, and she wanted to talk about crime punishment and all that. And she's been a victim of crime a couple times. And she's very scared. She also had all these lists. And I said, just get to the point. Both of them said, great, I'll get to the point. And what happened when we got to the mic?
They didn't get to the point. And Doug Herbert, I thought, actually did a pretty good job of cutting them off and saying, what's your question? What's your question? But it didn't faze them sometimes.
No, it didn't. But
they
see,
keep going.
We have a plan for next time. And our next barring the pending recession that's probably going to put us all at work next year. If that doesn't work, we're going to have a the World Monetary Fund. They're meeting in Washington, D.C. And this morning, I was up at 4 in the morning. This morning, I was up and, Trudeau's there and all, right? It's the IMF is meeting. And the outlook is bleaker than ever. I'm freaked out about 2023. Nevertheless, let's say we're here next year and everything's okay. Or, we're wearing a few less baubles. The federal election has to be called within 2 years. And it'll probably be called next year, we think. Maybe next year Trudeau will try to call it or something. Anyway, the next election forum. This is my long-winded way of getting to the point, like the ladies at the mic.
Let's go. Can you get to your question, please?
So everything works well, right? We got Mike and his crew's great lighted podiums. We have the candidates. We have good moderators. Next time, we are instituting a 30-second limit on questions. So we're going to say
long, no,
30 is great. It's not. It's about a third of what most of them are doing. So 30 seconds, maybe 25 seconds.
Well, 15.
And, well, maybe now we'll go 25. It's like the NFL and CFL game clock. Yeah. We're gonna go 25, 30 seconds. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna make sure next time we're gonna emphasize that point, saying, okay, you have a question, you have 30 seconds or 25 seconds, whatever. At that point, your mic cuts off, you're gone, and you can't keep talking. So at that point, Mike or Bill or Engineer Greg, they'll just cut the mic, and that solves that problem. Now, someone said, well, why don't you have vetted questions? I don't want vetted questions. I want them to ask whatever they want to ask. Or why don't you have them hand in the questions and then the moderator asks them? It slows down the process. Yeah, it cancels the duplicate questions, but it takes agency out of the voter. I don't like to do that.
Well, I don't know. I think that idea about write your questions down, I do like hearing from the people.
Because people might be there, and then you have to have someone running around grabbing the questions, and during the forum, someone might say, hey, I just got an idea for a question.
Okay, fair enough. Mike, what did you think in general about the whole thing?
Well, just really quickly to Chris's point, I've been working on a technology that will actually zap, not anything lethal, but zap the speaker when they get close to overtime.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's
in
easy.
partnership with the Kamloops RCMP.
Yeah, just tasers.
Yeah, but you know how hard it is to buy a taser?
Yeah.
Very hard, yes. Well, bear spray is available.
Well, that might be a little aggressive.
But that's the one thing. But other than that, to be honest, the forum was great. I think this is a great forum. We got really good stories of it at kamloopsthisweek.com. And in today's newspaper, October 12th, we have a story on every single group of candidates. It's good.
I will say, even on that question about pesticides, you get an idea for who's done this before, because 2 or 3 of the candidates had answers. They had dealt with this lady, and a couple of candidates had no clue.
Yeah.
And that kind of...
There were a few candidates.
It's a window
there.
into who's prepared for this type of thing and who's not.
Sure, and I think, and the interesting thing is there was 2 candidates that weren't there, but one, Rio Rochelet, his agenda is filling in the potholes, and he's an older guy who means well, but he's not going to get elected, and. But there was a couple of candidates, including Darryl Leverrier, who just admitted, I don't know, and I don't know half of what I'm here for, and I'm just a funny guy. So
well,
he's
for
not
me,
gonna
there
get
was
elected.
too much of that from some of the mayoral candidates too. That can be an answer every once in a while. Like, I don't know, but I'll talk to you. But if that's your answer 75% of the time, you haven't done your homework.
No.
What was I going to say? I was going to say, I didn't think anybody really stood out. Like, nobody really, for the mayors, really nailed it. Nobody was terrible.
No.
But for me, I won't name names exactly who. There were a couple of answers that made me think I would never vote for this person.
Right.
So I think it had its value. I'm sure there's other people who thought the same thing.
Yep.
I'll go, that answer, I don't want like that.
Yeah, but you can't just judge, a candidate on one answer. But you can judge him.
I 100% can.
And well, I guess you might be able to, but you should also think of the whole body of work. How they perform during the. Some people get nervous, and then the night before, and then tonight, which is October 12th, the final forum of the year, is at the Colombo Lodge from this. Canadian Home Builders and Interior Realtor Association, all about housing. If you went there, for example, you might change your mind. So you have to take everything in consideration.
If it's about nerves, I understand that. That's not what it's about. I just sometimes where I thought, is this the person that I want to be the front-facing representative of our community?
Because they are the ambassador. The mayor is the ambassador. They don't have much more power than anyone else.
I know about the power.
Right?
I know about 1 in 9 votes, but you're still the person that's representing us in a lot of different.
You're meeting the premier.
places.
You're meeting the prime minister. You're
That
meeting
matters.
all the exactly.
Mike, anything else? You good?
I sort of feel it's similar to how you feel, Marty, except for I believe that it's not just you can't just judge somebody by one answer. It's like looking at a book and judging it by the cover.
That's right.
Thanks, Chris. And wow, we're ganging up on him.
Yeah, I disagree. I think there's.
Or it's like
you
going-
can totally blow in one
like-
person's mind. You can blow your whole election with one dumb answer.
How many
Yes,
how many people have lost out on their soulmate just because they didn't like the one date?
Or they hugged the first date or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like the handshake.
Oh, no, it was the
Handshake on the first date.
That's
Everybody
right.
knows
But
that.
I think it was really good to be there. It was good to hear from everybody. It was interesting who was quiet and who was really loud. That I thought that spoke a lot too. And then all the councillors. There's a lot of different agendas out there, and
It's a very diverse group
Very diverse,
with respect to viewpoints.
and I've got my list, and I'm
Checking it
excited
twice.
to see what happens.
And you can't go by, one last thing, you can't ever go by the crowd's reaction because it's not a nonpartisan crowd that says, hey, I like this guy. Everyone brings in their supporters, or people who really like 1 or 2 candidates will come in and bring their friends. So it's a loaded crowd.
Yeah.
So it sounds good.
It was obvious that was a Hamer-Jackson pro crowd.
There was a lot of people who liked Hamer-Jackson there. There was a lot of people who came in and liked Kelly Hall, for example.
Yeah.
He had a lot of supporters there. Tara Holmes was there, and she's a publicly supporting Kelly Hall. So it's hard. Someone said to me, "Wow, that so-and-so has lots of support." Yeah, in this crowd they do, but does that translate to 82,000 eligible voters? 82,000? No, it doesn't.
Well, we'll talk
Not
more
necessarily.
about that with Jessica and Mike the last week, Polly Cleek. But first, a couple of sponsorship announcements. McDonald's, they've been with us for almost 30 episodes, and you'd think by now they've got what they needed. The dividends, they can probably build a new restaurant in Juniper with all the money they've made, with all the exposure they've got. And I thought, Brandy, she's probably not going to sign back on, but guess what? A Big Mac size deal
Ba, 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 ba.
Contract extension with McDonald's, so thank you very much to McDonald's. We drink exclusively McDonald's coffee on this show.
We should get you down to the Vancouver and work on the Bo Horvat deal, because they can't seem to do it. Eh? So
yes.
Maybe he can do what Alvin can do.
And I know you guys, we have done this actually for generations. Our families have done this on Thanksgiving. And what did we do on Thanksgiving, which our fathers had done before, and we continue the tradition this past Thanksgiving, Mike?
We go catch a turkey.
We go and catch a turkey. Mm-hmm. And where do we normally go?
Well, the hills are alive with the sound of music around Kamloops, but one of the things that we try to do is just go find wild turkeys. And it used to be plentiful, but this year was a little tougher.
It was tougher this year, because every time I went out there, I'd just find empty bottles. Wild turkey. Anyway, It was.
But you can't your own jokes.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of it is. It's so bad. Anyway, yeah, that's right. And we were trying to find it, and we were wondering, why are there so few turkeys there? So that we ended up, of course, going down to the BC Wildlife Park, because you're guaranteed some kind of bird there, even if it's on the sly, right? So.
Yeah.
The Wildlife Park does not sponsor our show, but we were down there anyway, so we ended up at the Wildlife Park, didn't we? And I was a little bit cold, so on the way down there, I stopped to get a McDonald's coffee.
Absolutely.
And Mike, what did you like about the Wildlife Park?
Well, I found it quite interesting watching Chris try to scale the eagle's cage, and for us to have to teach him that an eagle is not a turkey.
Yes, and also, remember last week, an eagle swooped down in.
Yes, and they grabbed the produce from New Leaf Market, and that's also what happened at the BC Wildlife Park. While I was skilling the fence there, I had some extra some vegetables from because I was going to feed the eagles, right?
Sure. Just vegetables in your pocket.
And they fell out, and what did it attract?
Yeah, right. The bear. Mm-hmm. The bear came out, and then he looked kind of tired. Mm-hmm. So that's when you said, Marty, that what would probably make that bear sleep a lot better is
a Sealy mattress
from
Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center.
Yeah.
They do everything, and as a matter of fact, Gord Stevens and Herman, they don't like when bears are harvested poached. They're against poaching, and they actually go and hunt poachers. Mm-hmm. So they're just benevolent people. And Gord, when he's not hunting poachers, he's giving back through Gord's Giving Back program, where, and you know this, Mike.
Super good.
This is what they do. Okay?
Every month.
Every single month, people in need are given an appliance or appliances. You can apply online at gordskamloops.ca. When we come back, the last week, Polly Cleek, we should mention, New Leaf Produce Market. It's pumpkin month right now as Halloween's coming up. Have you seen this one before?
No.
What is that? I was looking at that and I
thought it was like one of those ornaments you put on your made of stone or something.
It's a blue moon pumpkin. Blue moon pumpkin. I'd never seen it before until today. That's what I said, right, Bill? Blue moon. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, blue moon, and that right there is a snowball pumpkin.
It's an onion.
It's not an onion. They have them at New Leaf Produce Market. You can check this commercial out right now.
Are they the same inside, just different colors?
I have no idea. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning at the New Leaf Produce Market. We're here with Manpreet, one of the best employees in Kamloops. And Manpreet, what's coming up?
Halloween.
And what do we need at Halloween?
Pumpkins. So we have bins of pumpkins on a sale. 45 in a bin, $170. And we have a snowball pumpkins, $2 for each, and the larger pumpkins are $4 each, and we have a blue moon pumpkins in a store too.
Blue moon pumpkin, I've never seen this one before. It's an absolute Yorker. What's this called?
Snowball.
Snowball pumpkins. Vernon, he's jacked up today as he always is. Halloween's coming up. Get on down to the New Leaf Produce Market and get your pumpkins. Great, one of the best. Sorry, start again. What's coming up?
Halloween.
Sorry, one more time. Michael Potestio walks in and has the line of the day. He sees the pumpkins, and Mike, what did you say?
New Leaf has gourds.
New Leaf has gourds. Great job, Michael. Good start to the show. Michael Potestio, Jessica Wallace. The last week, Polly Cleek. We're going to talk about all things election. We're going to talk about the forum. Michael, let's just start with you. General takeaways from the forum last week. What stood out to you?
So I think what stood out for me was just the turnout. When I walked in there, it was quite packed outside the doors. You walk in, you see everybody, there's candidates and their supporters trying to throw a few pamphlets in your face, and you think, well, this is intense. I really like the TRU forum that that KTW always puts on. I've been going there ever since I was 18 and got to vote in my first election. It always feels like the big main event, you know, kind of like the WrestleMania event before voting day. And when I got in there, you know, it didn't look too filled out, and it was getting kind of close to start time there, and I was thinking, oh, this might be a bit of a lower turnout. But you know, I took my seat, and then, you know, by the time things got going, I turned around, it was just packed, and I thought, wow, this. It kind of reminded me of, we're thinking about, you know, will there be huge voter turnout this year? And if that's an indication, I'm thinking maybe so, because there was a lot of people there, and it seemed like a lot of people took a lot of interest, and there's a lot of people checking in on our live stream too. So it was just, I thought that was really stood out to me, as well as a lot of fired up questions. Like, the people were just lined up, just you know, five aside for a really long time there. And as usual, this is just a constant staple, but you know, people obviously taking their questions.
We talked about that at the top of the show, yeah.
It's just, you can't get away from it. You're always going to get that. People want to be there as much to ask the question as they want to vent. And,
what do you think about, because we talked about this, and maybe Wallace, you can chime in too, about people pre-writing their questions and not having them actually come up to the mic, so that it eliminates that problem?
I like that idea, but I mean, I don't know if you'll really get as many people willing to do that. I think a lot of people, they're there to express themselves in a way. I think if you just got to be a little more forceful with them, and maybe we turn that whole mic cutoff thing on them that we had for the candidates that night. You go over a certain time limit, you get cut off, so we can keep things rolling.
What do you think the proper time limit's going to be?
I don't know. I'd say how much. I wasn't really counting, but like maybe 20.
Price is Right rules here.
A 20-second play clock, like in the CFL, right? You got 20 seconds.
Depends how fast you talk.
To make your question. 20 seconds, not 40.
No, we'll go. I think we're talking 30. We'll go 25.
I said like
25?
15. Anyway, Wallace, there's a lot of things there. Do you want to tackle any of those?
Yeah, I mean, that's local democracy in action. It's a good opportunity to hear from the people. We often hear from the talking heads, the candidates, the politicians, the city staff. It's really great to hear what is concerning people. And I was at home sick last week, which was like sitting on the sidelines for the Super Bowl. But that's one of the things I really missed, was not being there and just asking people what their thoughts were about the candidates, and hearing firsthand from people about what their concerns are in the community, what they want to see in the next term. However, there were a lot of questions that were asked that were outside of the candidate's jurisdiction. So you had a lot of easy answers saying, I'll advocate, because a lot of the things that they were being asked about, they didn't have the power to really control. So, you know, City Council is doing a lot of advocating right now. We hear that all the time. So I kind of felt like a lot of those questions made for easy answers. One question in particular about the Arts Center or the Cancer Clinic being more important, I thought, well, it's kind of silly, and it puts it in a light like, obviously cancer is very important, and when perhaps you could argue more important than arts, but those are two completely different jurisdictions. So the city funds the recreation side, but they can lobby for the province to, say, improve cancer care in Kamloops. So it kind of felt like a bit of a loaded and maybe not unfair, but kind of a bizarre question.
So you were at home watching. The feed was a little bit choppy, I think, at times, but what else did you take away from the forum?
Yeah, I mean, there was some feistiness. We heard of the comment calling Reid Hamer-Jackson Trump. I was kind of curious who had made that comment. You know, there's been a bit of a feisty campaign altogether, because there's a competitive mayoral race. We know that we're going to see a new mayor this year. Ken Christian stepped down, and there are 3 incumbent candidates who are vying for the mayor's chair, in addition to some newcomers. There are 5 people running, and if you ask a lot of people, they don't know who is going to be elected come Saturday. So I think there was a bit of feistiness at the debate, and you know, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out on Saturday.
Mike, any feistiness notes from you? Have you noticed any of that in your work?
Not so much. I think from the from the forum, I kind of noticed in terms of feistiness. I guess Bill Sarai seemed pretty fired up on when he got a lot of the crime questions. There was a lot of crime questions, as we probably would expect at that forum, and he was a little, you know, feisty, I guess, when answering
Yeah.
those questions, being like, kind of playing that whole, as the incumbent, like, we've had it, we've tried, we're going to keep trying type of thing.
Did you see him this morning in his parade of sign holders by the Overlanders? He's out there at Bill
No,
Side.
I didn't see him when I drove by, but I see a whole. It's called Burma shaving for some weird reason. It's called a Burma shave when you go out there with other people. So I've seen a few of those groups.
Burma shaving.
Yeah, that's what they call it. The Burma shave. It's when you go out and you have all your campaign.
Oh,
when you do
okay.
this,
Didn't know that. What about you? You were there making things happen? But
yeah, no, I thought it was, there was a few people. I mean, Bonnie Cleland jumped out at me just because she was so overly earnest and funny, and she was loud, and she had her baby in the back she kept going and checking on. And she was honest, and she was endearing. I think people kind of liked that because it brought kind of up sort of like an energetic end to the evening because she was the last group. I thought the mayoral candidates, I think they all, we said earlier, none of them jumped out, but I think they all answered the questions quite well. I think Ray was quieter the most, but he had the good answer on the greenhouses,
there,
about the food security. And I think they all had answers that appealed to certain segments of the people. And we had 4 groups of councillors. We had 21 councillors there. And I think, I think there was a few that, they're not going to win. You're going to write them off because they don't know the issues. Yeah. They didn't know a lot of what they're talking about, including one, like I said earlier, Le Riviere. He said, I don't know a lot, I'm kind of a comedian. I don't think he's in it for a lark. I think he's in it he has some ideas. But there's you could tell during the forum, there's certain people who aren't going to be in the top 8, and that's just the way it is. But there's probably more than 8, in my mind, that are vying for those 8. It's going to be a tough race.
Yeah, that kind of stood out to me between... what was it?
Daryl
Leverrier and Proctor. The two of them, they committed the cardinal sin at these debates is saying that your opponent had a good idea and everybody else has taken mine. That stood out to me as like one of those cases where you gotta come prepared. You either repeat yourself or you try and rephrase it. You gotta let people know. I think at these things, especially at the municipal level, it's just such a sea of names when people get in that ballot box. I've been there before. You want to, at these things, to hear from people, and you want to be like, yeah, that sticks out to me. I like that. Yeah. You want.
So you think he kind of blew his moment to embrace the moment.
Yeah. You can't do that. Like it's just political suicide. You put yourself at the back of the pack. I think when you start answering questions that way.
Okay. Online polls. I want to talk about this and how much stock do we put in them. Our poll, KTW online, for mayors, Hamer-Jackson 40.63%, Dieter Duty 20.89%, Sadie Hunter 16.14%, Arjun Singh 12.66%, and Ray Dollywell 9.68%. 1,580 votes.
This is the second mayoral poll we've done. We did one in the spring. I put one up, and then I said we're going to do another one right before the election. And the results were similar back then. I mean, Reid Hamer-Jackson got up there. The results mean nothing. Doesn't matter who's in front because it's not scientific poll. It's not Angus Reid where you're actually doing the scientific polling. You're saying it's right within 2% 9 times out of 10. It's hey Martha, our candidate's there, and they get all their people to go there and they vote. So it doesn't mean anything. It's for fun. It's just fun. A good example is when Ajax Mine was a big debate here, and the Ajax Mine. We had a couple questions regarding, do you support it? Do you think it should be approved? And our normal poll voting over a week is about 500-700. And then that one went up to like 4,000 votes. And it was even until the last couple of days, and then pro-Ajax supporters went in there, and it went. So it doesn't mean anything. But it's just for fun. It's just for people to go to our website, get some more clicks and views. And
any thoughts on that, Wallace, on the poll stuff?
Well, online polls are not elections. It takes a lot more effort to go and cast a ballot. And, online polls, you can send a link to your buddy in, I don't know, Dawson City. And we don't know how people are using the candidates to show maybe more support than they may have. It's a kind of a marketing tool probably for some candidates. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how it compares to what happens.
And there's a back end to it when I go and when I close it or look at it. It tells you where people are voting from, how many local, how many non-local. There's a lot of people who were in Kamloops voting on that poll. So you could be in Kazakhstan and just say, I vote. Go to different computers.
I swore I've also voted twice in our poll before.
You have?
I think.
No, you can't do that.
You can't do that?
No.
Is it IP address?
Not unless you're like jumping from your mom's computer to your dad's computer, your brother's computer in different homes. It's hard
it is
to
that
do.
sophisticated.
Yeah. Okay. But having said that, it could be dead on, or it could be completely off. I'm just saying it's not scientific. So we could wake up on Sunday and the poll could be exactly, or it could be the opposite. It has nothing to do with the online poll.
What about endorsements? Recent endorsements and how they could
There's been quite a few
things.
lately, yeah.
Wallace, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, it's notable even how many people are endorsing people, prominent people in the community that are weighing in on the election. We're seeing past politicians. We had Terry Lake early in the campaign weighing in. We just saw Todd Stone endorse a number of candidates. Interesting, I didn't see a mayoral candidate there, but you can probably guess based on the party he's affiliated with, who he's chosen and who's been tapped by that said party.
Yeah. Yeah.
But probably deed or duty.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of endorsements. We have seen developers endorse. We've seen we're going to see a candidate forum tonight by the home builders. That should be interesting.
Dale Bass, I think, as well, by Frank Quinn and
Frank
Ian
Quinn.
Mitchell and Sabrina Weeks.
Yeah,
Sabrina
yeah.
Weeks. So
We
she's
saw
got the jazz
Tina
vote.
Lang also weigh in.
Who, sorry?
Tina Lang, former councillor.
Okay, yeah.
There's been,
And then
I
we
think
have,
it's notable just in the sheer amount of people who want their voice heard
Yeah.
and want their take heard.
And unions, QP released yesterday. QP released their list of endorsements, and the Kamloops Labour Council earlier did. So the sort of the left-wing Labour vote is out there, and those people who are strong unionists have a list of people that the unions want them to vote for.
This is your beat. You do this. So are you noticing that this is, more people are paying attention to this in the past, or are you not really noticing that?
I feel like there's a lot of attention on this election compared to others. I remember the last election, the mayoral race, it kind of felt almost like a bit like there was, a placeholder candidate against Ken Christian. So now there's a lot more buzz in the community. I'm hearing a lot of people asking me, what do you think? And, there's more, as we talked about, the feistiness. Like, I don't remember seeing something like this. Maybe I just didn't catch it, but I brought this just to show this Kamloops 22 Election Express. You probably won't be able to see this.
No.
But this just has been circulating downtown, and it's this kind of tongue-in-cheek newsletter, satirical, anonymous, talking about very inside baseball city issues, little jokes about candidates and somebody's obvious.
Does it lean toward, promoting somebody or?
Well, Chris had said he actually knows who it is.
Yeah,
so,
these are the ones I had to take off the chairs. There was dozens of them on the forum, and I had to go to Bronwyn Scott. She was putting these out, and I said, you can't put these here. How come? Because the rules are nothing inside the forum. Well, I have a right to speak. I said, go outside the forum. I rented the place. Give me $300, you can do it. And so she went outside with her friend, and they handed these out, and then people brought them in. That was just a technicality. But yeah, this is interesting. It's a big also anti-pesticide group, and they have some issues that they've been trying to address council with.
But look, if you put in this much effort, this looks like a newsletter,
Yeah.
and it's in a coffee shop downtown. Yeah. My husband just came upon it and brought it to me and said, "Hey, what the heck is this?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't seen it before." And I started reading it, and I thought, I mean, they made it look like fake news stories with like fake sources, and
it's
like there's a significant amount of effort that went into printing this, distributing it, and writing it. It's just interesting that people are this invested in paying attention.
Yes, which I guess is good in some ways if it's going to translate to more people voting. Mm-hmm. Michael, what about the vocal support for Reid Hamer-Jackson? Did you notice that at the forum, and have you noticed it elsewhere? And do you think that is indicative of what's going on out there?
Yeah, it's hard to say. You never really know who, if the loudest or the majority, or if it's the vocal minority type of thing. I think every mayoral candidate kind of had a little cheering section at our forum. I had heard, we didn't cover CFJC's forum the night before, but I had heard from some people who did that Reid's supporters kind of dominated that one, or they filled up that one. But
Sadie said the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think everybody kind of had their own little cheering section. And as far as, kind of the broader appeal, I got to say, when I talk to certain people, or people ask me about the candidates, oftentimes I see Reid and Ray Dollywall kind of courting the same votes. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know if it obviously ever since Trump in 2016, nobody wants to be like CNN and just call it and write off any candidate. And in a 5-horse race, you can't. Somebody could if everybody brings a 20% to the table, somebody could just slip in there. So it is, for that reason, anybody's race, and that might be why we're seeing more chatter this year, because it's not just a placeholder mayoral election. But I don't know. My gut feeling says that, Reid and Ray will probably split a lot of their vote. They're going for a lot of the same people. And so I don't know if it's this big groundswell that people might think it is. I think it's that kind of vocal minority that, they have apt concerns, but I just don't know if it's I don't know if it's a huge contingent of the voting population right now. We'll see.
Wallace, you can touch on anything you want. You've got notes there. Anything else you want to get into?
I always have notes. Interesting to see the advanced voter turnout. We heard from the city that the early numbers are about double that of the 2018 election. Now the city staff who are helping to orchestrate the election are, orchestrate probably isn't the right word, put it together, plan it, make it happen. So they say that the additional polling station in North Kamloops is likely at play, but as we've been talking here today, that mayoral race, how many of those people are just motivated to get out there and vote for their candidate? That's the question.
This was the more than 2,400 voted on October 5th or 8th. Another chance today, I think?
Yeah, 12th is the last day, 8 to 8 on the 12th.
Yeah, so the 2,400 was about 3% of 80,000 and change that are eligible. Foulds, you want to put a bow on this?
It's just almost impossible to predict. I think I have I know exactly which 5 trustees are going to be elected and in which order.
Can you make predictions then? Like, then you make your predictions.
Yeah, that's the only prediction I know. Everyone knows the 5 candidates for trustee. That's a lock. And I think I have 5 councillors.
Well, let's hear them. If you're willing to share them, it's up to you.
John O'Fee.
Endorsement.
No endorsement. I don't vote, as you know. James Peters. I don't vote.
1992, right?
1992 was the last time I voted. 91 actually, before I became a reporter. I'll guess. And this is not who I want to win. This is if I'm betting money. This is who I'm betting on, just based on who I talk to, and based on the signs, and based on name recognition, and based on everything. School trustee John O'Fee, Cole Hickson, Kathleen Karpuk, Joe Kang, Heather Grief.
Okay.
It's guaranteed.
Hickson's just everywhere.
Hickson's everywhere. I think I just saw him in the hallway over there.
Back here somewhere.
And then for mayor, I don't know. I really don't know. And it could be anyone. But if I was a betting man, I would probably bet. I wouldn't know where to go. Because part of me thinks that Reid Hamer-Jackson might squeak in. Part of me thinks that Dieter Duty might squeak in. Some people I talk to, part of me thinks Arjun Singh and Sadie Hunter might squeak in. With all due respect to Ray, he's a great guy. I don't think Ray's going to win. I think it's a race between the other 4. I really do. And for council, I think Katie Newstader has a really good chance. Kelly Hall. And this is based on who they know, their involvement in the community is huge. Their visibility and the amount of advertising and signs out there is massive because people are busy. People have things to do on a Saturday. And sometimes they'll go in there and say, I remember seeing this guy sign. Or I saw this guy doing the Burma shave. Newstader's a lock. Kelly Hall, I think, is in. I think he can't discount the 3 incumbents because incumbency is massive name recognition. So Sarai, Bass, and O'Reilly, I think will probably get in somewhere. I think they might finish lower than last time because of the anger vote. I think Darpan Sharma has a really good chance of getting in. I'm not sure about his 2 coalition mates. I think they might just be on the bubble. And I think a dark horse to the average people is Margot Middleton. I think she gets in because a lot of people said they impressed with her on some of the forums. She's steady. She's a really good business acumen. And she's got a great pitch. She's the only candidate of all 28 running for council and mayor. She's the only candidate who says, if I'm elected, I'm donating my entire salary, which is north of $40,000 to local charities.
If I have an Abbotsford manure cannon at your head and I say, you got to pick a mayor, who's it going to be? You had to pick.
Not that I want, but who I think's going to win. Who you think's
going to win?
Yeah. If I was doing a pool, I would say Dieter Duty. Because of the split vote that Michael talked about with the anger vote, I call it the so-called anger vote, and I think that Reid and Ray will split a vote, and to their detriment, and I think Sadie and Arjun are going for the same vote more so than Dieter.
Okay.
Up the middle.
Yeah, sort of a socially conscious vote. Not that Dieter isn't socially conscious, but I think that they appeal to a different voter than Dieter in some aspects.
He said he's a centrist.
Yeah, so I think Dieter, I think those councillors I called, and I think the trustees, and I think you'll see that I was probably pretty damn close.
Okay. Calling his own shot. Mike, you need any appliances in your house right now?
Oh, I'm good so far.
Good, Jessica?
A few gourds for Halloween.
Last year, everything broke.
Last year, everything broke. Where you should just
Replace it all at once.
I need my fridge. Remember I had my furnace?
You should have went to Cold Control.
They only do the big commercial. Remember $1,300?
No, they sometimes do residential.
$1,300 a couple weeks ago.
You don't watch the commercial.
Right? I went there and they came in and it was $1,300 to fix it. I was all, and then the heat won't work, so I had to call another place today.
You still didn't call Cold Control?
No, I called your buddy.
Jurista's
company.
Interior Plumbing and
They
Heating,
came
who
out.
have not advertised with us yet.
Well, they should, because they came out and in about 2 hours the guy fixed it. Another bill that I can't afford. But anyway, thanks to them for fixing it. And I just can't afford to live anymore. It's just crazy, man.
This was a long-winded way of flipping to our commercial to Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center.
Don't want the 9-hour cycle, please.
Freaking $500 hydro bill, piece of trash.
I need to speak to Gord on the 9er.
Hey, no, I'm actually Steve, the new owner.
First things first, pal, you should probably update your sign. Number 2, my dishwasher is tangled again. The 9-hour cycle, hydro bill through the roof. You guys don't fix appliances, I know that, so I need a new one.
We actually do fix appliances, but if you want, I can try some new ones first and have a look. You got a price in mind?
Money is not an obstacle for me.
Money's definitely an obstacle. He's the cheapest guy in Kamloops. Ain't that right, Darby?
Well, this here is going to be your Cadillac model, top of the line. This is our middle-of-the-road dishwasher, just a great dishwasher at a great price. This is our budget-friendly model, still a great dishwasher, just at a bit of a lower price.
Price doesn't work for me. Let's see if you can fix mine at home.
Alrighty then. There you go, seems to be good. How's the fridge working?
The fridge is fine, Gord.
It's Steve.
That's one of LED's classic picks.
LED
right there.
pick, yeah, it's
One
a
of
nice
his
one.
best ones ever. Logan Stankoven after scoring a goal. Greg, you were at the game on Friday night.
Yeah.
What was it missing?
Stankoven and Kiefer.
Stankoven, Kiefler. Won't be missing Stankoven on Tuesday. He's coming back. That's his first home game. Normally it's a Tuesday night versus Brandon. Kind of a dog on the schedule, but Blazers, it's all going well for them right now. So he comes back. I talked to him yesterday. He lost his luggage, his hockey gear, so he couldn't practice yesterday, but I talked to him after practice about a few things. How can he follow up his season last year? 45 goals, 104 points in 59 games last season. Can he reach 50 this year? What do you think?
I think so. Even without these, he'll be out. He'll probably be at the World Juniors, right? And are they doing it in December?
Yeah.
He's missed the first few. Yeah, I think he'll hit.
So he's missed 4 games, and he's going to miss probably 8 or 9 more. So let's just say he misses 14 games and plays 54 games. That's not a lot of time to get 50 goals.
Well, I think he'll get 50. He'll be more than a goal a game.
I agree he will too. He got 17 and 17 games in the playoffs. Here's another question. Can he catch Connor Bedard?
No.
Bedard has a 15-point lead already.
No, Bedard's going to even accelerate that. He's a generational player.
Okay. Yeah. So 5 exhibition games in Dallas. He comes back to the Blazers. I talked to him about that. I talked to him about losing his luggage, about Bedard, and a bunch of other things in this clip right here.
My gear, my sticks, and my luggage bag. So I showed up to the airport. I had my carry-on backpack, and that's about it. So I was trying to look for some gear last night, and I talked to the coaching staff, and they said, "Hey, we'll give you a day off today, and hopefully my gear can come in." Because last night I checked, I got trackers in the bags, so just the Apple trackers, and they were seen in Denver last night, but today they're seen in Vancouver. So hopefully they make it in by tonight.
Get a little closer to home, but you're back to home now. 5 exhibition games under your belt. So what was the biggest takeaway for you?
I think just what it takes to play at that level. I think the speed and the pace of play isn't that much different from when I was at World Juniors. So I was pretty well adjusted to that. But I think just how much physically mature those guys are compared to myself, and they're bigger and. Everybody thinks the game at such a good speed or such a fast speed, and that it's easy for them to knock pucks out of the air. So I think just being able to kind of find those quiet areas to score goals is the biggest difference for me.
When you get that taste, and such a big taste this time, how much does it affect your desire to want to be in the show full time?
Yeah, I mean, you get treated like royalty, and you're flying on private jets, and you're getting steak meals, and you just get treated so well, and it's something you got to earn though. You don't just get it handed to you, and kind of got a good first taste of that. But hopefully next year that's the life I want to be living.
And this year you flip the switch right away. How quickly can you flip the switch and realize that the task at hand now is the Blazers and what lies ahead this season?
Yeah, obviously it's a big season with Memorial Cup, and I think that was kind of what I was kind of looking forward to. I think it was more of a realistic goal was to be back in Kamloops again this year, and obviously it would have been nice to play in Dallas, but I think everyone knew, and I'd be coming back to Kamloops this year, and hopefully have a good start here with the guys, and may take a few games to kind of get adjust to the pace again, and kind of figure out how to play with new line mates potentially. So hopefully just figure that out, and then kind of pick up from where I left off last season.
So what does team success look like for you this season?
I think just remembering that feeling of that loss in Game 7 to Seattle, and kind of keep that in the back of our minds, just to kind of keep us motivated and hungry. And I think we had a great group of guys here, and we're confident in our group, and kind of see where the year takes us. Obviously, we want to win our division again and go as far as we can in playoffs. And being a Memorial Cup host, you want to win your way there. You don't want to be the team that loses out in the first couple of rounds and then sits around for a month waiting for the tournament to start. So we want to win it all, and then hopefully that kind of leads right into Memorial Cup.
There's a lot of people here that are going to show up just to watch you, and they want to know what can you do after your season last year. So what do you have in store for us as far as individual success, and can you beat last year's totals?
I don't know. It's going to be a hard year to follow up, and obviously I don't think I'll have as many games this season, just with I've already missed I think 4 games, and potentially World Juniors, right? So I think that's a good 9 and 10 games right there, and obviously having more games has more potential to put up more points, but at the end of the day I don't really think too much about that. Obviously I want to fill the net and do what I can offensively, but at the same time make sure that our team has success, and we want to be firing at all cylinders coming playoffs and Memorial Cup.
50 goals, can you get there?
It's going to be hard. I think after last season, a bit of a slow start, goals wise. I thought I picked it up there the second half. Hopefully I don't have any of those kind of blips right away. Hopefully kind of fill the back of the net, and obviously 50 goals would be a good goal to set. And like I kind of said before, not really focus on it too much. Obviously if it happens, then that's awesome, that's great, but at the same time if it doesn't, then there's lots of hockey to look forward to.
There's a guy out there in Regina who's 15 points ahead of you. He's got a head start. Can you catch him?
It's going to be hard. He's a special player, and obviously you're older too, so that's going to help his case. Being a year older makes a huge difference in this league. So he puts up so many points, and he's a great player for them. So it's going to be hard to keep up to a guy like that, but. I think it's just one of those things where you try and kind of compete against them, and see where things go.
That's Fraser Minton. He, by the way, Greg, is going to be back in Kamloops this Sunday, and he will be in the lineup most likely next Friday.
What was his injury again?
Wrist injury.
Toronto, right?
So Toronto, he's just staying in Toronto to work with their crack medical staff. That's the only reason he's not coming back.
Plus he needs to play the piano.
He's got to play the piano in Toronto. So Blazers fans, basically, all your top guns are coming back here. It's good news for the team. It kind of feels like the season's just starting. Yeah. Realistically, both these guys are probably going to end up getting maybe mega contracts, but not quite as big as the mega contract we signed with McDonald's, who sponsor our very next segment, Foulderdash.
A lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. So we are educating our crew and staff on different things like pride or just diverse cultures that we have working here. So we talk about like Diwali and stuff like that.
That sounds like a really unique position that maybe other companies don't have. I mean, what does it mean to you to be able to have that kind of position?
It's really nice. I actually love this position. I get to learn a lot about a lot of cultures, which is very interesting to me. And as well as educating about some things that I'm passionate about. Pride is one thing. I'm gay, so it's nice to be able to educate our staff on stuff like this.
Foulderdash?
Foulderdash.
Foulderdash.
Foulderdash. This is the segment where we combine your love of the English language with your tendency to blow up on social media. We haven't done this segment in a while. You can't stand the Toronto Blue Jays.
No.
You can't stand the Toronto Blue Jays.
No, I can't.
So why?
It's a long story, but it boils down to this. They betrayed the Montreal Expos. They hastened their departure from Canada. And they're also owned by a corporation that...
it's Canada's team.
That ceaselessly tries to kill the CFL. So no, Rogers can go screw themselves, the Blue Jays can go screw themselves, and nothing made me happier than to see the Blue Jays, the Rogers-owned Blue Jays, do a Maple Leaf type choke for the ages against Seattle.
Right, so this is what happened. This is a bad play on Foulds. So for that exact, I knew you were going to say something happened way back in the day, despite the fact that it is Canada's team.
No, it's not. The Expos are Canada's teams.
And anyway, so this happens. The Jays lose. They blow it. And I can just tell Foulds at home. He's probably got his UP costume on because he's such a big Expos guy, right?
Oh, yes, yeah. I have a UP costume.
And you're waiting on Twitter to pounce. And here comes somebody to tee you up. It's Bowen Assman, who is a Kelowna Now reporter.
Bowen Assman is a good friend of my daughter. I met him and talked about journalism with him.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Okay.
His goal is to be a big sports reporter for TSN or Sports Illustrated. He might make it too.
Okay, there we go.
Now, that's not his real name. I think that's his Twitter handle.
No, it's his real name?
It's not Assman.
It's not?
No, I don't think so.
It is. I looked on his articles.
Okay, maybe it is, yeah.
Bowen
Bowen.
Assman.
I just know him as Bowen. He's a nice kid.
Anyway, he comes in, he says, Toronto sports teams, unbridled optimism, epic choke jobs. And there, Fouldsy, this is your chance to come in. So in swoops Fouldsy. Thank God the Jays lost. Insufferable bastards who helped kill the Expos, Canada's true baseball team. Go M's.
Yes, absolutely.
What about these young kids like Vladdy Jr.?
I don't hate the players. I hate the institution that is
They
the Blue
didn't do
Jays.
anything wrong, though. That's my point. Like,
Yes.
Vladdy Jr., what did he do to you? And think about his dad was
His
an
dad was
Expo.
the greatest one of the greatest Expos of all time. It's the corporation, it's the team, it's the culture.
But all these young kids working so hard. And you
In
don't care.
2001, they voted to contract the Expos, and when and they were trying to see the San Francisco Giants in '76 were having a really, really tough time, and they were going to move to Tampa Bay or Toronto, and there was rumors that they're going to move to Toronto, and the Expos had say in that because even though they didn't have a territorial right, they had a country right, and the Expos said, "We welcome them. We'll help you come here if San Francisco moves." Turns out San Francisco got the stadium, they got financing, they stayed there, and then the next year in '77, when they expanded, the Expos supported Toronto coming to a market that was going to bite into their revenue sharing, but they said, no, come here. We want you here. We like you here.
How old was Vladdy Jr. when that happened?
Then, a few years later, and
Bichette.
then not too long after, Toronto pays back Montreal's welcome mat by demanding some of the revenue from broadcast and radio rights in southeast Ontario that used to be Montreal's. They took it away from them. And then they voted to contract them, and they didn't stop them from going to Washington, D.C.
You've got all these old gripes, and you have no care for these young
gripes.
men who are working so hard to achieve their goals. It had nothing to do with 1977.
Yeah, well, Vladdy had any kind of character. He would have refused to play for Toronto. He would have sat out until Montreal gets the baseball team back as God intended. But no, he didn't do that because he's greedy.
Okay, so Foulds, that's one thing. There was one more. Saturday, October 8th at 4:15 p.m. This is when you tweeted this. Just minutes after your own BC Lions dropped the game. This is supposed to be your favorite team of all time, but you just weren't in the mood to pick them up or be nice to them. In swoops Fouldsy. You played, so at BC Lions right away, you played an Argo, I'm sure they're all paying attention to this tweet. Matt Baker's like, what's going on here? You played an Argo team that our South Kamloops Titans high school squad could beat, and you lose. This loss guarantees a road playoff game and immediate end of the season. Again, well done.
Yes, I was pissed off.
You have little faith. That's your team.
I was pissed off. Penalties. Sean White, your nemesis.
Exactly.
Missing an easy field goal, his first. He had 17 straight going in there. And I blame the announcers because just as he was lining up, they said he's hit 17 straight. And I yelled at the TV. I swore at the TV because they just jinxed him. He goes wide left. He does a Buffalo Bill.
A good South Surrey guy, Semiamu.
Yes,
Semiamu
that's
guy.
right. So, but then I thought about that, and I had some drinks with some buddies that night. I was at the game that night, the Blazers game, and I thought about it. The same day, Winnipeg Blue Bombers clinched first, so they're playing for nothing. They played BC twice. They won't be as eager, so I think BC will win this weekend against Winnipeg, and they're back in the hunt for a home playoff team.
So you've bounced back. It was just a little bout of anger, and you got it out at the Lions.
Yeah, pretty upsetting.
South Kamloops Titans, by the way, 1-0 in regular season.
Good team, yes.
They beat the Salmon Arm Golds last Friday. I think it was 38-0. They're the 6th ranked team in the province. Let's wrap the show.
That's right.
Anything? How do you feel about the show today?
Good, good. All politics all the time, and I guess next week we'll be talking about the election that was and see whether or not what came to fruition, because it's very, very wide open.
Next week we're hoping to have the new police chief on.
Yes, I think we have him penciled in on the 19th. Yes.
And we're hoping to have him along with the new mayor.
Jeff Pelley is the new superintendent of the RCMP. We hope to have him on. And whoever's elected mayor, we're hoping to have them on if they could turn around on a tight schedule.
Do you think we could have them both on at the same time or one after another?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, good talk. Mike, anything to add here?
The police are coming next week.
Well, you can talk to them about the problems you've had actually here,
yes.
All the break-ins. Okay, we thank New Leaf Produce Market for everything they've done for us for a long time. They're our old school sponsor, to Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center as well, and to McDonald's, brand new contract. We drink exclusively McDonald's coffee on the show. For Chris, for engineer Greg the engineer, Magic Mike, Bill, and Marty, we'll see you last week.